Not exactly a ground, but it's a concern. Because in practice, you have to remember, most of the transactions, I told you, they are post-review. So they may not even come to us. So,
not at your level. We know you have told us when it comes to this post-review, especially in the area of single sourcing.
Yes.
There is the approving authority, which is the contracts committee.
Yes.
In these institutions.
Yes.
So they play your role, the GPPA's role, in approving single sourcing procurement activities within a particular institution.
Yes.
In this case, that is KMC.
Yes.
Now, when it has gone through the ladder, then they will now evaluate. They should now follow the required lay down rules of evaluation and so on and so forth in either approving or rejecting a particular procurement request.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
But part of the mandatory requirement, which you have highlighted under Section 29 of the GPPA Amended Act 2018.
Yes.
And in fact, there's a quotation with respect to the requirements.
Exactly.
And if I may read, it says a procuring organization shall engage in procurement planning with a view to achieving maximum value for money in public expenditure and other objectives set out in Section 3. So it means it is a mandatory part of procurement.
Yes. It's mandatory. What I'm saying, maybe there is a miscommunication.
Yes.
I'm talking about the approval level here. The provisions here are very clear. It is should prepare a procurement plan. In this particular case, it was absent. I was talking at a different level.
Yes.
Normally, even if a plan is prepared, normally it is proper, it is best practice, it is submitted for approval at the authority level. That's what I'm saying. I think we are talking of two different things. But the fact that a plan should be provided for, that is mandatory. It's non negotiable.
So at the level of the institution, in this case KMC, if there is no procurement plan at their level,
yes,
should it be appropriate for them to even approve any procurement?
If there is no plan, that is a gross violation.
Now, the implications are that there is a risk of unplanned expenditure.
So,
that the funds appropriated for specific items may not be used as budgeted.
So,
and then again, similarly, value for money may not be achieved if the procurement plan is not not planned accordingly.
So all these are possible implications here.
Now let's discuss the specific findings on chapter 4. You will find that on page 24.
Page 24.
When you're there, you can just inform me so we can discuss it.
Yes.
Yes, before you proceed, Mr. Tamura.
Yes, Chair.
Do you publish these plans as provided for in the Act?
Yes, it's provided for in the Act that they should be published. Especially, the particular reference is on our website.
Yes.
GPA website, yes.
Both your website and in the institutions, their website?
The institutions are supposed to publish it in their website.
Yes.
At our level, we publish it in our website.
But at your level, is it mandatory?
It's mandatory, as per the lawyers.
So, are you in receipt of any of the plans of the municipalities? And have there been any that have been published on your website?
Yes. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which ones? Which of the municipalities?
I know some have submitted. I can always confirm exactly.
Yes.
But
let us have the municipalities that have complied
submitted
with the law. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,
okay, Karen.
Yes. Are you on page 24 with me?
Yes, Council.
The first sample is the procurement of fuel. Do you see that?
Yes, Council.
The amount is how much?
$106,777.
Please speak through the mic.
$776.74 budus.
And the awarded contractor?
The contract is Atlas Energy.
The method of procurement?
The procurement method is single
sourcing.
Yes.
What were the main non-compliance findings?
There are many here. One, it was discovered that this particular procurement wasn't part of the annual procurement plan, and there was no purchase order. So it means the process was incomplete, because the purchase order normally comes at the almost tail end of the transaction. And there were no minutes of the contracts committee. So, and there was a need for a prior review. In other words, there was the need for submission to GPA for our review and approval, plus the obvious fact that it is above the threshold for single source.
And then there was also no approval.
Yes, that's what I mean by prior approval. Yes.
The last point. What is the last point?
The last point is
delivery note.
There was no delivery receipt as stipulated. So please explain.
Yes, the last point is there was no delivery note to establish or to substantiate the actual delivery of this particular item.
Now, the management response is such that they said your observation is noted and will ensure that section 113 to 136 of the regulations of the GPPA, as well Form 102, which is the purchase order form, will be implemented accordingly.
Yeah, basically this is an...
So they agree with your findings?
It's an admission of our findings.
Yes. The other one is procurement of building materials.
Yes.
The amount is $363,000.
Correct.
Then the awarded contractor is Lankaramo, Saware and Sons.
Correct.
The used method is request for quotation.
Yes.
What were the non-compliance issues?
A bit similar to the previous one. Wasn't part of the annual procurement plan. There wasn't any inspection or examination receipt to determine or to avoid a mismatch. There were no evaluation reports.
They responded by saying that all tender procurement have evaluation reports. Approvals from GPPA will only be granted upon provisions of all the necessary documents of the procurement process, including the evaluation report. However, the amount is within the RFQ threshold, of which evaluation is done through GPPA Form 101, request for quotation under the column evaluation criteria. And based on your recommendations, we will use the supplier's assessment form to come up with evaluation report for the all RFQ procurement method. Do they entirely agree with you here?
They were trying to clarify, but if you read between the lines, you'll realize that there was an admission.
At the tail end?
Yes, of our recommendation.
All right. Now, there is one of interest, which is the procurement of one 4x4 station wagon.
Yes.
Now, this one is under the category of goods, and the amount is how much?
$2,496,100.
So a station wagon, 4x4 station wagon here is, will I be correct to say it's a vehicle?
It's a vehicle, yes.
Yes. So where was it purchased?
From Saibin A. Madi and Sons.
And what method was used?
Restricted tender.
And now, there were compliance findings.
Yes.
But there was no non-compliance findings.
There were non-compliant issues, yes.
Okay. Now, you have mentioned that in the compliance findings that there was a purchase order that was raised. Did they comply with that?
The compliance findings?
Yes.
Yes.
And they complied, that there were minutes of the contracts committee for this procurement. Is that correct?
Yes, as per the report.
What is the other requirement that they applied with?
Can you clarify, because on point 1,
Yes.
the last paragraph, can you please read that?
There was no purchase order form filled. Yes, I will come to that one, because I'm trying to discuss this at length because there is no section for non-compliance. Okay. So what I want to do is to first discuss as to how they outlined the compliance procedures or requirements. Well, when this one should be under a column for non-compliance.
Sorry, Council. If you go further, you'll see the section for non-compliance.
Well, it is not okay. No, it is not in. I don't have that with respect to the form I have.
Maybe it's the photocopy, or I'm not sure.
At page 27.
27.
Do you have it
Can you
here?
go to page 27?
There are issues of non-compliance.
Oh, I don't have page 27. Maybe that is a solution. Can I?
Can you?
Chia, do you have it?
Yes, I have it.
Okay.
Maybe during the course of photocopying.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Yes, so now, let's now discuss the non-compliance bit. Don't you think on the first point with respect to the compliance order, don't you think that where you stated that there was no purchase order form 102, should that not be under non-compliance? Just to make it more clear.
You mean, under the compliance aspect, we said purchase order was raised. That was a compliance issue. The non-compliance issue, that's what we have below.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Because sometimes we also identify some of the strengths.
Yes.
So and we categorize them under compliance issue. Then after that, we bring the non-compliance. Or sometimes the concentration also is on non-compliance.
Now let's go to the areas where they fail to comply with in relation to this.
Exactly, that's the non-compliance. That's the non-compliance.
Now, what I was just trying to say is where you wrote there was no purchase order. Whether that is a compliant, that amounts to them being compliant with a requirement or a non-compliant instance.
I cannot see where we indicate that there is no purchase order.
So the first point on compliance.
Yes. What I have here is purchase order was raised.
Yes. Please read.
Purchase order was raised by the end user department as stipulated in the regulation.
Yes. Proceed.
There was no purchase order. Form 10, that's the extreme end. Form 102 was not filled.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just saying whether that is better placed on a non-compliance.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Now,
so I think he joined the two in one. I think that's what he did. Yeah.
So is that not the requisition order?
No, the purchase order. That's after the requisition, like after the whole process. Okay. After the whole process, okay. And evaluation is done. Responsiveness is determined. Somebody is identified as the most responsive. Before final, the purchase order is a kind of it's a template. It's a kind of a contract document that before deliveries are made, you have to sign as the procuring organization. The supplier signs. That binds you, so that he can deliver. So it comes at almost the tail end.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, under non-compliance with respect to this particular transaction,
yes.
The first point is that the procured item was not in the procurement plan, yes, as stipulated in the regulation. Was there even a procurement plan in the first place?
As per our findings, we have established that there wasn't a plan submitted to the authority.
Yes.
Yes.
So this transaction was done without an approved procurement plan.
Sure, at our level, yeah.
So the other point is that there was no inspection committee to inspect the goods as stipulated in the regulation.
Exactly so.
Well, what is the third point?
The third point is no delivery receipt notes.
So when you don't have a delivery receipt note, then you can't ascertain the receipt of the goods.
Exactly so.
In being purchased.
Yes, you can ascertain where actually the goods were delivered.
Now they responded by saying that that is KMC, that the goods were among the council. The goods were among the council annual plan and budget. However, they might have been omitted or not seen in the procurement due to the way the procurement plan prepared by the former procurement manager. However, management ensured all future procurement plan contains all items in the budget. The inspection team will be instituted by the accounting officer as recommended. All tender procurement has evaluation reports. Approval from GPPA will only be granted upon provisions of all the necessary documents of the procurement process, including the evaluation. Now here they are saying that in fact they are trying to argue that there is in fact a procurement plan. Were you at any time or any period giving evidence of the procurement plan?
No, sir. During the period under review.
Now let's talk about the method of procurement. With respect to this 4x4 station wagon, which is a vehicle, the amount is $2,496,100.
Yes.
But then the method used is restricted tender.
Yes.
Please run us again. I know you've done so many times. Again through run us again through the method. What entails in restricted tender? What are the requirements for a restricted tender? Before I now ask my my follow-up questions.
In other words, you're asking the conditions.
Yes, conditions
for use for restricted tender.
Yes.
One, the goods. If the goods are available from a limited number of suppliers.
Yes.
And these suppliers should be known to you. Common suppliers that are known generally. One, the issue of urgency. If there are urgency and you think time may not permit you to go in for open tender, you can use restricted tender. Sometimes specialized equipment in nature or goods, you can also use restricted tender. If the amount involved is also within the threshold for restricted tender, you can also use restricted tender. Basically, these are some of the conditions for the use.
And to meet the requirement for urgency.
Yes.
Is it the same that as a time you have outlined that you must fulfill 3 criteria?
Yes.
The first being that it has to be a matter of life and death.
Yes. When there is threat or imminent threat to life.
Yes.
Yes.
The second being act of God, force majeure.
A force majeure, yes.
And the third,
potential damage to public property. Yeah.
Did any of these 3 situations arise in this instance?
In the case of this one,
yes,
that wasn't established. But now, maybe the other requirements they relied on other conditions.
Yes. So this was not established.
In terms of the emergency bit, yes.
And again, what is restricted tender method?
As per the procurement laws, the country system, restricted tender is any procurement method that is used but not open to the public, is only limited to bidders, suppliers, economic operators, but the minimum requirements should not be more than 5 or less than 5 in all.
More than 5, what?
Should not be less than
5
in all.
Bidders.
Bidders. That's the minimum requirement.
Is there a requirement for advertisement?
Restricted tender?
Yes.
You are not mandated to do advertisement. You are only mandated to send in for what we call invitation to bid.
Is there an evidence of in this instance, KMC is sending an invitation to bid to bidders?
Yes, that was established because the invitation to bid simply means writing to them formally, telling them that this opportunity exists, that we are inviting you to come and make proposals. So naturally, if that is not done, they wouldn't even know about the existence of this opportunity.
Yes. So now, where will that be contained in relation to? So again, how about the issue of secure tendering?
Secure tender. About that
secure
box?
Bidding, yes.
Yeah, about that box.
Yes.
Okay. In a tender, I told you there is always a deadline that is set. The date and time at which you should submit your bids. The report did not highlight specifically whether there was a tender box or not. But generally, from our post-review exercise conducted, this was obviously absent. But with this specific reference, I wouldn't want to speculate. There was no reference to whether it really existed for this particular one or not.
Now, please turn to page 28.
Yeah. I just want to clarify just a little thing here. Because of that fear, they have in that tender box, I told you about the fears. Because of that fears, most suppliers, most bidders, what they do, they'll submit their bid 2 minutes before opening.
Few minutes before?
2 minutes or 1 minute or the dead minute before opening, so that there is no time for tampering. Most experienced bidders, that's what they do. If the deadline is 12 o'clock, they'll come 1 minute to 12, submit it. Because if you submit, the next activity is automatically open in the presence of everybody. So you don't have even the chance to tamper.
That is what the experienced bidders will do.
Yeah, because of that fear, so that's what many people do now, many bidders do now.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. That's what the experienced bidders will do.
Yeah.
But in this situation, there is no evidence of that.
No, in fact, I wasn't specific to KMC here.
Yes.
I was just trying to shed light on it.
Very well.
Yeah.
Council, may I ask, in this particular RT, during the course of your review,
yes,
did you confirm that the minimum of 5 bidders were given the opportunity as provided for in the law?
In fact, to expand further, this RT, we expect that it should be part of the files we submitted initially.
Okay.
I told you, even if we go for post review, sometimes we go for to check 1 or 2 issues from this thing. We expect a detailed information about this RT to be part of
the files.
Yes, because if it is not there, then there are issues. Because it means the bidding document was not approved by us, the procurement method was not approved by us, the evaluation. So the expectation is it should be there. Okay. That's the and once we check it, all the details, all those that invited, participated should be there.
Yes, we will check. We will check that.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, page 28, you have the procurement of bulldozer.
28.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yes, Council.
Yes. So an amount of $205,000, and the award contract is AMCC Enterprise. RFQ was the method used, and the non-compliance issues. Can you please explain to us?
Okay, the non-compliance issues are similar to the one we just discussed. The issue of not having a procurement plan, or this particular procurement not within the procurement plan, no inspection examination committee, no evaluation report for this particular procurement. I think we are discussed in details.
29, there is the procurement of air compressor. An amount of $84,737 from Home Choice Gambia Limited. it was through single source. What were the non-compliance findings?
Still very similar. The issue of this particular procurement not part of the planned. There were no minutes of the contracts committee, no inspections committee. There are no approvals from the authority because the procurement method was above the threshold for single source.
Madam Chairperson, that brings us to the end with respect to the review for the year ended 31st December 2020.
Yes.
Do the commissioners have any questions in regards to this?
Any questions? We can go to the last report.
Thank you very much. Now, may I refer you to the compliance review for the year ended 31st December 2021?
2021.
For Carnegie Municipal Council.
Yes, Council.
Yes. There were, of course, general or repetitive non-compliant practices that you found in the year under review on page 9.
Page 9.
Yes. With respect to the functions of the accounting officer, that these non-compliant issues were being repetitive throughout since 2019.
Yes.
Which means there were no improvements with respect to the role or the practice by the accounting officer.
So,
again, one of the issues are that the non-compliance in relation to that while the review team was informed of the establishment of the contracts committee, there was no evidence that the accounting officer appointed the contracts committee members formally and in writing. So probably it appears then as if things were being done informally.
Yeah, you could not have any evidence that these people assumed to be members of the contracts committee were actually. So
you are presented with the names of individuals who constitute members of the contracts committee.
Exactly.
That is supposed to approve procurement requests.
Yes.
But then there is no document to prove that in fact there were formal appointments.
Exactly.
So which suggests, of course, that members of the contract committee were being appointed informally, if you don't have evidence of a formal appointment.
Except otherwise.
That would be the logical conclusion.
So.
And the second point is that the accounting officer did not appoint members of the inspection and acceptance committee.
Yes.
And did not sign an individual for inspection of goods.
Yes.
Like computers and air conditioners as required by GVA.
So.
Now, that being... Now, there's a response in addition to your findings.
Okay.
That is on page 10.
10, yes.
Where you have the management response. That the first paragraph is, according to the Local Government Act 2002, the mayor is mandated to establish all the standing committees of which the contracts committee is among through a resolution from the General Council, and the members were all appointed officially. So they are now saying in Carnifin that in fact it is not the administrative head, it is not the accounting officer who should appoint the members of the contracts committee, but then as far as they are concerned, it should be the role of the mayor.
Yeah, that's their response, that the mayor should be appointing standing committees. And according to the response, the contracts committee is also a standing committee. That's what they are saying here.
Yes, yes. Does that have any merit? Because you made reference to specific provisions of the GPPA, which requires that the contracts committee should be appointed by the administrative head.
Yes. So these are the issues, obvious, but the Act is saying the administrative head should appoint the contracts committee.
So in KMC, it is the mayor who, in effect now, from their response, is the mayor who appoints members of the contract committee. From their response.
From here, one can conclude that way, that he appointed the standing committees, and the contracts committee is one of the standing committees as per their response.
Yes. So my point is, as far as KMC is concerned, in their first response is that this is the role of the mayor. The contracts committee, as we have highlighted, is the very committee that approves the procurement activities, procurement request. They have a set of standards that they must follow in accordance with GPPA regulations and Act. And then, but here you have the KMC adopting a particular procedure, which is that the mayor will be the person, is the one appointing members who are there in the contracts committee to be sanctioning procurement activities.
Yeah, the procurement law mandates the accounting officer to do such an appointment.
Yes. Now the second paragraph is that according to our current operations, the acceptance for goods is done through the store, where the store manager and the user of the goods will sign the goods received notes as the acceptance team, who will certify the goods as per the specification of the request. Did they forward you with any documentation signed by any store manager?
If there is any formal communication regarding the formal establishment of the inspection committee, it would be their management response.
Yes.
Apart from that, there was no separate.
There was none.
Separate communication.
Now the third point is, they said, as for services, the beneficiary department who requested and supervised the works serves as the acceptance team, who will certify the works to the accounting officer and the finance before payments are effected. Now, do you have evidence of the beneficiary department or the user department? I think these words are interchangeable. Yes. Wherein they have signed off or certified any acceptance or procurement being delivered to them also.
The file we reviewed, this wasn't brought to our attention.
Now, they said in the last paragraph that, however, the accounting officer has now formally appointed members who are not be part of the procurement process as per the requirement of the regulation with immediate effect, who will inspect and accept all goods and services procured. Members of the acceptance committees are as follows. They mention their names.
Yes.
Now let's move on to page 11.
11. Yeah. The last paragraphs, Mr. Tamura, it seems that they are, in their management response, they are attempting to comply with what the law is saying in their last paragraph. Yes. Even though in the previous paragraphs they have indicated that they adopted their own procedures to deal with the issues, not through the law.
Okay.
Is that your understanding of their response?
Yes.
Last paragraph?
Yes. The last paragraph, that's what it suggests. They have formally appointed the examination and receipt committee or the inspection committee, and they comprise of these 4 people here, which is of course acceptable.
Under the Act?
Under the Act, yes.
Thank you. I just wanted you to clarify that.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Now, on page 11, one of the non-compliance issues are that the SPU does not include evaluation criteria in the solicitation of quotations from potential suppliers in RFQ transactions.
Yes. So I think this was discussed, and fundamentally is the evaluation criteria, which is the determinant factor for responsiveness, and our decision should be based on this criteria, which was lacking in this instance.
On page 12, there is a finding that there is evidence that the PO, is that the procurement officer?
Page 12.
Yes.
Under the table or above the table?
Above the table.
Okay, yes.
Functions of the contracts committee and evaluation committee.
Yes.
What is your finding?
The POs stand for procuring organization.
Yes.
Yes.
Has established a contracts committee in accordance with the GPPA.
Yes.
Now, do you know who appointed this contracts committee? Because you have found earlier that they were not being appointed by the accounting officer.
Yes.
So, do you have evidence of who made the appointment?
Here, going by the report, the evidence is that the procurement organization has established a contracts committee in accordance with the relevant section. Now, once we are able to make this statement, it means the appointment followed the right procedure.
No, in fact, it did not, because when you go further, you have concerns, and the concern is that, however, there is no evidence to suggest that the members were formally appointed in writing.
Yes.
So
that's why I said there is an established contracts committee.
Yes.
You know, at institutional level, when we go for review, we review a lot of documents. And most of the documents we review, sometimes we see instances very clear, members of the contracts committee. They deliberate, generate minutes, sign. So that is a formal communication that these are members of the contracts committee. So that's what the report is trying to suggest. But however, because of the regulation is saying any member should be formally appointed. That you have an appointment letter, this or this, etc. That was what was actually lacking as per the report here.
Yes, it is a major concern.
Yes.
Because number one, you've told us on numerous occasions that the contracts committee, number one, first, the role of the contracts committee. If we have to go back to what the role of the contracts committee is or are, we can just highlight three. Can you just name me three important roles of the contracts committee?
Yeah,
just three.
Yeah, there are many. One, in fact, approval of all procurement proceedings.
Yes.
That's fundamental generally. But here, they approve the use of procurement methods, especially single source.
Yes.
They approve award decision, procurement requests at their level. They appoint other subcommittees like the inspection committee, evaluation committee, disposal committee, etc. They give approval to all procurement processes. Generally, the contracts committee oversees all procurement transactions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So please proceed.
Yes. And the SPU, the head of the SPU, is a member of the contracts.
Should be a member of the.
Should be a member of the contracts committee, as the secretary.
Yes. So in essence, what the contracts committee does is to manage, like you said, all procurement activities happening in a particular institution.
Perfect.
Yes. So they make sure that's why there should be an expert in the contracts committee.
Yes.
Who understands procurement.
Exactly.
And these necessary committees like evaluation committee should be formed to make sure that they are in line with GPPA regulations and act. So that you can achieve the highest objective of procurement, which is to attain value for money. Also have a very fair level playing field. And so the law is that the accounting officer should appoint these individuals.
Yes.
And then these individuals, they have a mandate. They should do X, they should do Y, they should do Z to make sure they're in compliance with the regulations.
Right. That's perfect.
One of your major findings is that, in fact, the accounting officer is not the one appointing the contracts committee.
Yeah. As for our findings here, there is no evidence of formal appointment from anybody.
See, I think we already discussed this. When we say it's not for you, or maybe I'm wrong, but is it your role to prove or establish for any institution that they in fact follow the law, or they have a contracts committee that is appointed formally? Is it your role to, if you request for these documents, is it not for the institution that you are reviewing to provide you with evidence and prove to you that these requirements have been met?
Yes, in fact, once we write engagement letters to institutions that we are coming, in that very letter, there is a list of all documents that we need.
Exactly.
So the requisition or the request is made in advance. And the expectation is once we arrive, all these things are submitted. That's the expectation. Of course, they are duty bound to provide these things.
Thank you. Let's hear the questions or comments from the Honorable Commissioner, then we will proceed on that.
Okay, Council.
Mr. Tambura.
Yes.
Can we just make it very simple for everybody? Is it correct for the mayor to appoint the contracts committee?
As per the Procurement Act.
No, yes or no? We want to speed it up. I will assume that you will be talking about the act. So let's put that aside.
Yes.
Yes. So who appoints the contracts committee?
It should be the accounting officer.
Okay. Did the accounting officer appoint the contracts committee?
We have no evidence of that.
You have no evidence. So therefore, the contracts committee is illegal. Let's go straight to the point. Quickly.
It's a violation.
Thank you.
Now, so now let's discuss the issue of the a committee, the contracts committee. Let's assume that now there is a contracts committee.
Yes.
Understand? You have been presented with the list of members of the contracts committee.
Yes.
Right?
Which is a bit different from the other one.
Yes.
Yes.
So that list of the contracts committee, you did not see any formal appointment.
Yes.
But they have contested that to say that, well, it is a mayor's role.
Yeah, from their response.
Now, please. Can you turn to chapter 4 with respect to the specific findings?
Page
18.
Yes, Council.
Yes. In chapter 4, your first finding was with respect to procurement of fuel.
Fuel, yes.
The amount is $117,366.74 buttons.
Yes.
The oil contractor is all for agro, and RFQ was the method used.
Yes.
Now, what were the non-compliance issues in that?
Here, let me just highlight that the amount involved was within the threshold, but the non-compliance issues
please come again.
The amount involved is within the threshold for
yes.
RFQ. The non-compliance issues include the non-administration of the purchase order, which I just explained, that binds the one buying and the one supplying, and also there wasn't any inspection committee.
It's a point for clarification. If you look at the reference, KMC/SS, is that not referring to single sourcing? Because you are telling us that this is within the threshold for RFQ. And if the reference here is showing KMC/SS, which signifies single sourcing,
yes,
can you explain and clarify?
Yes, we are speaking the same thing. I just wanted to tell you that it's above the threshold for single source. That's why I said the amount involved is within the threshold for RFQ.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to say.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, on page 19, the non-compliance issues with respect to goods that were being procured, that is the bulldozer. The amount is $205,000 from AMCC Enterprise. What was the non-compliance finding?
Fundamentally here it was the issue of inspection committee. Because this is significant. Normally the inspection committee inspects the good and ascertain, just quality assurance, just to ascertain that what was required is actually what is brought before.
What is being purchased.
Exactly, yeah.
But they responded, KMC responded, there's a management response to that effect?
Yes, they responded that the inspection committee has been established as stipulated. Yeah, hopefully after this transaction.
But were you... Okay.
During this particular transaction, there wasn't.
There was none. And the procurement of spare parts on page 19, which overlapped to page 20.
20, yes.
What were the non-compliant issues?
One, there's an issue of negotiation. Normally, if we make review and we mention about negotiation, the feeling is with negotiation there could have been a reduction of the price.
Price?
Yes, normally, yeah. That's why it was mentioned here.
So there was no evidence of negotiation?
There was no evidence of negotiation.
And then the second one?
About the inspection committee to ascertain quality or to ascertain consistency between requirements and deliveries.
Now, you had general recommendations.
Yes.
What were the general recommendations?
Basically, there are items that are routinely or frequently bought by institution, and the regulation, of course, allows you to go in for framework agreements so that you don't have repeated requests, repeated transactions here and there. So, like fuel and this minute stationery, etc. The laws allows you to go for request framework agreements, and also there was a recommendation for general training of the, especially the contracts committee and the SPU. This recommendation are always based on our findings. We feel there is a need for some capacity enhancement within the institutional structures, and further the need to establish and strengthen the inspections and the disposal committees.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. That is the end on our part with respect to the review for the year ended 31st December 2021. I will hand over to the Chairperson.
Just to confirm, are these the 3 reports that have been conducted by the authority?
Yes. These are 3 reports I think we have.
Yeah, I think we just finished 2021.
Yes.
For BCC, KMC and Brikama, we have not conducted 2022, though they are already scheduled. Because normally, as per our compliance review plan, we always start from the provinces. That's why if you check the provincial area councils, they are already reviewed for 2022. But the current one in the combos are scheduled, but not yet reviewed.
Thank you. Council?
Yes, I am being signaled by the Honorable Registrar that it's time for break.
Thank you so much. We would break for prayers and lunch, and we will be back in 1 hour 20 minutes. We may rise.